Moving on to our next session, that is panel discussion, transforming and scaling L&D in the digital workplace with AI learning interventions like conversational role play. Introducing our moderator, Mr. Arun Subramanian, co-founder at Growiz.ai. I request Mr. Arun Subramanian to please join us on the dais. I also request our fellow panelists, Ms. Roopashri VY, Vice President of Vice President, Head of Learning and Development at Broadridge, Dr. Anuradha Rao, Vice President, Global Organization Development, Culture and People Experience at Ensono, Mr. Iqbal Singh, Head of Learning and Development at Cafe Coffee Day, Dr. Manavi Pathak, Head of Learning and Organization Development at Samsung R&D Institute India, Mr. Ritesh Rangle, Head of Talent and Learning and Process Improvement at NoBroker.com, and Mr. Ramakrishna Rao, Chief Learning Officer at Page Industries.
Great. Thanks a lot, panelists, and good afternoon, everybody. So I'm welcome all to the panel discussion on scaling L&D in digital space, specifically with AI-based learning and role plays. So with me, I think I have panelists from a diverse set of industries, with diverse experience. People, I think today they represent industries starting from fintech, apparel. You talk about some Cafe Coffee Day, Samsung, specifically R&D. So I think those are known names, but you also have like brands which have their own niche. People work in their specific domain, etc. So the way we would go about this discussion is to take our panelists' inputs and would request them to share their experience on how they see some of these AI-based advancements and how they're using AI and how they see some of these outcomes coming out. And we have about 40 minutes, and we had all agreed before we came in that we'll restrict our conversation to about 30 minutes and leave 10 minutes open for Q&A, so that we will kind of give provision for enough time so that we can make this interactive and we will have enough time for audience to ask questions. Hint, hint, this is for you to make notes while we discuss so that you have enough questions at the end of the time. And yeah. So maybe we'll start off with a very quick question that I have for Ram. Yeah. So Ram, based on what you've seen so far, what strategies have you seen are most effective for scaling certification and digital workplace training programs using AI, especially when you're dealing with teams who come from different skill levels and different roles?
Yeah, so where have I seen massive use of AI? So if you look at, I'll give you a bit of context. Any organization, and especially an organization like us, which is sales, manufacturing, and then there is HR. So usually what I feel...
So Ram, if I may just add in, can you just give a quick one-line introduction of what Page Industries does, because that's not a name that most of us may quickly relate with. So I just thought that context will help when you talk about other things.
Sure. So Page Industries has the exclusive licensee for manufacturing and sales of the brands Jockey and Speaker. Right. Having said that, I should also declare that I am not the official spokesperson of Page. So whatever I speak is non-Page, more in general. That's the insurance that I'm taking from all of you. Okay. So any organization, if you look at, has a sales engine, has a manufacturing engine, and then HR. So I see when it comes to sales or as well, the roles are very limited. You will have, junior sales guys, senior sales guys, sales head, etc., etc. It's very easy to design learning interventions, etc. So even if there are 10,000 people, there may be about 10 roles or 15 roles, right? And you're done. But if you look at a corporate of sorts, where you have, HR, IT, legal, there are various functions and various roles. And within those departments, you have a lot of sub-departments. In finance, you'll have, taxation, receivables, and so on and so forth. It tends to become very complex. Usually what we do, from a Pareto point of view, we'll say that we'll pick the larger roles or where the impact is more and we design interventions around it. We move from events to cohorts and learning journeys, so on and so forth. And whenever people used to come to me saying that I need a learning intervention for someone in a sub-function of the legal department, that's like the last priority. What AI has done essentially is to increase their access. Earlier, as a L&D person, my focus was more on certain roles, etc. Now it is far more open, right? Because what we did is created something called as an individual development plan. We said each one of you, please create a path for yourself. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do 2 years from now? And write down what skills you want to gain. And after this itself takes a lot of effort, because this seems to be, and with my experience of 2-3 years, I realized, as much as we talk about Buka, Bani, etc., this is the most difficult question for people to answer. What do you want to be in 2-3 years from now? I'm very happy the organization deciding. Or it's just 1 or 2 levels above my hierarchy. That's the rigidity or straightforward answer. But aligning it with my career interests, so on and so forth, that doesn't come. With AI, and I'll give you the connection in terms of how AI is making things happen. If I make my individual development plan, which is not exactly a straight 1+ level or 2+ level of my current role. I weave in my preferences, interests, aspirations, aptitude, all of those things, and I make my individual development plan. Then there is a world of MOOCs that are available, right? You must be familiar with a lot of MOOC platforms, be it LinkedIn Learning or any of those platforms. Then what you're doing is you're opening up, and just as our social media profiles or anything, the feed or the list of courses available to each one of them is very, very different. For example, I'm not promoter of LinkedIn Learning, I'm just using it as a use case. What LinkedIn Learning does is it scans your job experience. It does a word search of the words that you have used in your, all of us have filled our experience for 10-12 years. It picks words from there and then it recommends courses for you.
So Ram, just to be specific, is there something you spoke about how the last main, the long tail which was neglected is now being able to be serviced because of AI. So would you have some specific example that you have seen work, specifically, and I'm calling it long tail in terms of people, let's say with very hyper specialized roles, like you were saying, where you can't really find learning programs easy. Are you referring to people like that, where AI is helping you get to learning programs and get them learn?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So my bandwidth is no longer limited to the number of people in the L&D team or budgets and training rooms and so on and so forth. The canvas is so wide. The canvas is the number of MOOC courses that are available. Even Harvard has some courses which are free, open. Stanford has courses, etc. Anyone wants to learn about AI, there are lots of freely available courses online. So what it primarily does is, in terms of access to learning, in terms of accessibility, etc., it's completely democratized. An employee can decide what he wants to learn if you just break that wall and say, this is the learning available for you. And then I'll build on it through projects 70, 20, 10, and I build my skills, etc.
So I take it that the constraints of yesterday are no longer constraints of today, and we don't have to work under specific constraints of AI has broadly broken those constraints for you is what I'm going to take this as. Okay. So maybe I'll just follow it up with a question to Roopashri. So in what ways do you see conversational role play simulations enhance the whole employee engagement part of it, and is there any correlation to knowledge retention when you compare it to some of these other traditional methods that we've seen?
So before I answer, I represent Broadridge. It's a fintech, and we are going through a transformation. 2025, we want to become a business center and innovation hub. And if we want to become both, what is important to is to create that culture of learning, culture of high performance, innovation and inclusion. So, and hence LEP needs to step up and create those kind of programs proactively and very strategically. So that's why I want to call out a few examples where AI we are not there yet, but we are thinking it's on our roadmap. So because as I said, it's a 3-year roadmap, we are on 3-year strategy. So the first year, we are creating foundation for everything best in class in the 3rd year. So as part of that, one example comes to my mind is especially conversation, role play, simulation. Uh, is an answer when you want to bring in a program which is scalable, point, and very simple. It need not be very complex because it is just a conversation. It could be a 2-liner conversation or a 3-liner, and a 4th liner you invite the learner to contribute. That's how we integrated it and we called it again. I think we learned some speaker was talking about gamification, gamified. So we created a platform where people, a large number of people, and irrespective of levels, participating. So it helped us in scale participation. So we called it I Am Boundless because to transform, we want everybody to become boundless. So I Am Boundless Premier League is something which we are driving as we speak. And second one is practice. Again, what we learn, we are talking about retention. I think your question also had, it's not just about learning but retaining. So to arrest that forgetting curve, whatever you learn, you need to retain also to longer, because 7 days they say you forget everything you've learned after you're out of that class or any kind of learning you have accessed. So to arrest that forgetting curve or increase the retention, this practice journeys we have created, and again we are leveraging technology. And the next step in that is the nudges which are going to the learner are customized to the trend we see in them, like how, what is the learning eagerness, what is the practice intensity. Keeping these 2 parameters, what else can you push to them? So that one, it is easy, effective as well. So that's the second one. And I have in the past, not in this company, used to scale coaching AI platform. So CoachM was the partner we ventured. So because coaching again is a very key thing we want to extend to our people, and we can't have live coaches for everybody. So AI will help us scale coaching. So those are the 3 examples coming to my mind.
And just to, you talked about retention. So have you seen any examples of, where people have come back, because I understand measuring this is not easy, but even anecdotally, have you seen people come back and say, hey, it looks like I'm able to do something more, I've got this reason.
Absolutely. I mean, we have hard data, especially the practice journey I spoke, and also in the IPL. Anecdotal, we do have responses, people coming back and sharing.
Sure. So if anybody else wants to share their experience of how they see some of these conversations, you can just leave it open to the floor. Yeah, Ritesh. Okay. Fair. So I think then, Anu, I have a question, following up for you. So how do you think AI-powered learning solutions can be customized specifically to get some of diversity and inclusion part of what we're doing? And how do we ensure that those principles are adhered to, and how do we ensure this whole thing captures the sense of inclusivity in the workplace? Because, there's already a lot of inherent bias that people talk about. Then you have human bias, and now you have, an unknown AI bias that's coming in. So how do you see that taking shape? Or if you've already had some experience, we'd be glad for you to share.
So for me, DEI is an integral part of any talent practice, right? That we do, right from hiring till the exit part. So NAT is a very core part where DEI also plays a very, very major role. How does that come to play? At least from my experience, what we are looking at doing, like Roopashri said, we're just early adopters, into AI, and we're looking at how do we run and make sense of the data we have. To explain that a little bit, we have everybody who's taken maybe say thousands of learning courses, right? can AI predict an individual's learning style? We all are aware of different learning styles, right? Even within your own table, each person will learn differently. Some are kinesthetic, some are auditory, some are visual, etc., etc. So, for me, DEI in L&D is nothing but understand the individual's learning style and just give them exactly what they want. And today, I think that's what's being called as, personalized learning plans, etc. And that's all it is. So if as L&D we have a complete plethora of videos, say, avatars, for example, people who are more, in tune, learning through others, etc. And you have case studies for kinesthetic people, and I'm a very kinesthetic learner as an example. So instead of going through, say, 10 videos, right, which is saying the 2-hour program, I will go directly to case studies and help me solve, so I learn better. So if learning is personalized to my preference and my liking, or the associates or the employees' preference and liking, retention is automatic, right? You begin to remember what you've done it because you've enjoyed the process and it's your natural style. So the least path of resistance versus forcing or boxing people into, oh, this is a classroom training, this is an online training, etc. And honestly, I'm not very fond of gamification. I'm just being very honest here. Right? Because for me, the wins and losses is not for me, that's not the way I learn. That doesn't matter to me. Right? So every person is very individualistic in every sense, including learning. So can AI capture that essence, and can we throw out whatever content we have to make it relevant and more impactful for the learner? More retention, hopefully, right, applied on the floor gives a lot more business impact.
So I'll take a follow-up question on that, because one of the issues that we have kind of seen, I personally have gone, is while you have different learning styles, the question that people always come back is to say, hey, do you really want me to manifest a single content or information into multiple ways? There's a cost associated with this. So should I really do that? Because while I can identify something, who's going to pay the cost for doing this? So do you see AI coming in the way of solving this as well? Because at the end of the day, the content has to manifest in different ways for different learning styles. So,
true. Yeah, there's always a cost to everything, right, that we do in HR and in the business side. There always has to be a very fine balancing act, because there are certain, and it always depends on the content, right? Not everything can be done classroom, not everything can be done online. So it has to be a balancing act. And this is where I believe if you have built a strong business case of why do you want to build in, say, all of this, right? For example, you have business case studies built in, videos built in, interactive, conversational role plays, etc. built in, and the learner can pick and choose basis my learning style or my preference. Sure. In a very simple aspect. Sure. That's inclusion. Sure. So that's my sense.
Fair. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to just add on to, talking about inclusion and diversity. So, I work with Samsung Research, and almost 70% of the organization is millennials and Gen Z. So the way we have been running our L&D function has to change, because, traditionally we all were, relying on classroom learning. With pandemic, we had to be more innovative. We got into blended learning and different kinds of learning. But what we've realized is that, we are still following the hybrid work, and it is very difficult to get learners in the classroom, and to rely completely on online learning is also difficult. So, for that, we have actually planned, and in fact, one of the things that we have planned for this year as a part of our L&D agenda is to do something with an AI-based learning platform, which will actually appeal to the younger generation, because there are a lot of things which are inbuilt in a learning platform which is appreciated by especially the Gen Z and millennials, where you will get a chance of gamification, immediate feedback, personalized report. So all that is actually addressing our need for an inclusive learning experience. That is something that we want to give it to our Gen Zs and the millennials.
Sure.
Thank you.
So Ritesh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just want to add to it. One, from a content point of view, there are a lot of AI tools now which can do your text to image, text to video, audio, of all sorts. So from a type of learner point of view, there are some who want to learn, as in just like even listen to books through Audible. Some like Kindle. Some want that real book. Nothing else works. So there are different types. So there are a lot of AI tools which can, if you give the basic content, the tool can dish out different types of content forms. Podcasts, reels, long form course. Long form courses are again coming back into fashion. People want 1 hour. They're done with 1 minute, 2 minute reels and stuff like that. Okay, so that's one from a content point of view. From a touching upon the inclusion, I think we are moving from an event-based program, which is like come 2 days and you're done, to where we move to a journey-based, which is, okay, this is a 9-month journey, you do this program, then this project, then this assignment, etc., to what I see as a portfolio way of learning, where you say that, okay, the skill that we want you to build is entrepreneurship or drive or customer orientation, etc. And there is a bouquet available for you. We are doing 40 events. One is an event by a guest lecturer, another is a podcast series, another is a case study approach, another is a book-based review and a learning circle of sorts. So there is a huge bouquet of learning formats. And you don't force a learner to go through everything.
Sure.
You say that, okay, these are the 40 learning assets.
Yeah.
You attain 20.
Yeah. So you give people a
clear
choice.
our assessment. And then you get certificate.
Makes sense. Yeah, Roosh.
Just 30 seconds or less. So, I mean, one leader used to say like less is more, but now less is less. So to your point, there is a budget to create so many different formats, but for what are you creating? The topic itself, like, because retention means reinforcing is needed. So hence you choose for which you want to create so many formats, because wherever there is a pressing need that this has to be reinforced in different formats, you have to make a choice. So that is what I just wanted to add, and which we are doing.
Makes sense, yeah. Sure. But while all of us here are talking about how we are bringing in AI and stuff, there are inherent challenges in bringing something new, because there's already a way of working. People are comfortable with this. The system is comfortable with this. So Ritesh, maybe I'll just request you to take this. So what are the challenges that you see organizations facing in bringing, let's say, something AI specifically in the learning space?
Sure. So when it comes to AI implementation in L&D initiatives, or with, for example, any change that matters, the first challenge that we face is resistance to change. Right now, why does this come? So I think I feel that this resistance to change comes from the fear of whether this AI will take my job, or the lack of understanding of how AI can be integrated into L&D initiatives and how it can make my life better. Additionally, I also feel there is always a friction between the predictive power of AI as well as the appropriateness. So when an AI delivers a solution, there's always a conflict amongst people saying, is it fair? Is the outcome trustworthy? Right? So those challenges will always be there. And because AI relies on algorithms, the more complex the algorithm, the more difficult it is to convince the people to trust the outcome. So I think that's one challenge that you will foresee when you start implementing AI. So I'll just give you an example of what we did. So when we introduced AI-based hiring, right, hiring platform, what happened was that there was a lot of resistance. Right? The manager said, how can an AI determine a candidate fitment? Right? So they went through the training rather reluctantly, and they realized that there is merit in considering this change. In fact, later on they realized that AI is not there to take their job, but actually to enable them to make decisions faster and to make their life simpler. So I think a lot of hand-holding, training, empowerment needs to happen for to let them adapt to the AI-driven initiatives. So that incubation period is very important when it comes to AI-driven L&D initiatives. Right, that's the first aspect. The second we briefly touched upon is the quality and relevance of the content. right? Now we have to understand that AI, again, like I said, relies on algorithms, right? So when it relies on algorithms, it will throw out some personalized learning outcomes. Now those learning outcomes have to be catered to the different learner styles and preferences. So when we designed something like a conversation intelligence tool, which basically understands or reads a conversation and gives us the insight into the quality of that interaction that they had with the customer. So when we defined those moments, the positive moments and the negative moments, we realized that AI was not capturing the true essence of those moments. So we had to go back to the drawing board and said, okay, how can we rephrase this? How can we give a synonym to this? So when we started doing that, there was a lot of back and forth that happened between the engineers, the audit team. So it takes a lot of time to kind of build that relevance into an AI-driven initiative. So that's the second bit. The third bit is the cost and resource constraint, right? So every time, like we said some time back, that when you implement something new and you want to make it diverse so that it can be implementable to a lot of people, then obviously there's a cost involved. There's a resource cost involved, there's time involved, there is effort involved. So as HR and L&D folks, we need to ensure that we are able to do a cost benefit analysis, understand understand the matrix that can be tracked. For example, is there an improvement in employee performance, engagement, or retention? Right? I'll just give you an example again. So when we were implementing this conversation intelligence tool, before that we would only audit a sample of customer interactions, and then our learning interventions were very broad based on this sample.
So Ritesh, just to clarify, this is auditing telephonic conversations with customers.
Telephonic, email, or chat as well. So it was broad based, and we had to create training interventions based on this sample. So when we brought in AI, we were able to audit 100% of the conversation in multiple languages. Now that gave us the opportunity to create individualized learning programs for people. We understood each of their gaps, each of the coaching needs, and then come up with solutions that we could implement. So implementing AI into your L&D initiative is not just cost effective, but also scalable in the long run, and gives you personalized outcomes. I think broadly these are the three challenges that I personally came across while implementing AI-driven initiatives in the organization that I work for.
Sure. Manavi.
Yeah, so I'd just like to add, I think, very relevant points. Change management is, of course, a challenge. But one of the things that, we were also discussing, before we came here, I was talking to my other colleagues, is that how do you simplify? Because, already we have, a work day or, something internally. How does all this sit with that? And how do you interpret and make things? Because, for the business folks, for the other folks in the organization, for them this is additional data point. How do you make sense of that? So that is more of at a practical level. But as they say that change is messy in between and glorious in the end. So all that will take some time. We are still figuring out. We have still not reached there. So this is also one of the challenges that we face.
Sure. So Iqbal, yes sir.
Just to add one of the risks with AI.
Okay, I was going to come to that.
Oh.
Okay. So thanks, you preempted me there. So I think maybe I'll just throw it to Iqbal, because I think Iqbal's not kind of shared any thoughts on this one. So do you foresee any risks with relying too much on AI, specifically in the learning domain?
Well, there is an old saying that excess of everything is bad, right? So when it comes to AI, that's true for AI as well. And recently I saw a Bollywood movie. I think you guys must have seen that. The movie's name is Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Ulja Jiya. How many of you have seen that? Oh, you have heard the song, huh? Okay. I think you should watch the movie as well, because we can actually, keep that movie as a metaphor when it comes to, risks associated with AI. And when we discuss about L&D, so it has its own risks associated with the AI, and we will discuss about them and also how we can mitigate them. So the biggest one is, I think, loss of human connection and the critical learning skills. When we compare AI with human coaches, trainers, So humans are, more emotional. They can provide you more personalized recommendations, right? They are empathic. So I think these are some of the skills where AI lack. And to mitigate this challenge, I think we should have a blended approach, as we discussed earlier as well. So we need to blend AI with the human. We need to work both together with humans as well as AI. We need to collaborate, right? And apart from that, one point I think one of my colleagues discussed, that is related to the bias associated with AI. So sometimes while providing the recommendations, and also as we know that AI works on algorithms and all, it can be biased as well. We touched upon DEI as well. So recently I read a case study where it was from US. So one of the IT companies, their AI learning platform was recommending the technical courses only to male employees, and then they had to change the algorithm. So I think to mitigate such kind of challenges, an audit, regular audit is required. And apart from that, there are lots of concerns related to privacy, because AI takes a lot of data from us. So I think to mitigate that, we should have proper laws. And there can be some other challenges as well, like for example, if there is a technological outbreak, and then we cannot rely so that's why traditional methods are always helpful, like instructor led classroom sessions, peer to peer and all. So these are some of the risks I would say that they are associated with us. And apart from that, I think one of the biggest thing when it comes to content creation, because that is also a part of learning and development, we are losing our own creativity. We are so much giving up to the AI, that we are completely started relying on AI itself. We are losing our own capabilities, and I would say the organic human touch is somehow it is losing. So there is a Urdu शायरी, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना, खुदा बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Right? I don't know if you would have heard about this shari or not, but just imagine if God comes in front of you, right? God is standing in front of you and asking that, okay, now you tell me what is your desire. And imagine that somebody is so given up to AI, and वो chat GPT open करके पूछता है, please recommend some desire to me.
So this actually happened with a large mobile phone manufacturing company, where especially when ChatGPT opened up, so they realized that some of their employees put the source code and said, "Was make this better for me," or "Complete this for me," and they had to kind of cut off access, because the core of what you're trying is now suddenly with somebody else. So
Thanks.
yeah. So maybe I'll
just a quick thought,
yeah,
Arun.
yeah,
I think to mitigate the risk that AI presents, I think something called as co-pilot. That means where a human intervention is also there along with AI, can help us mitigate those risks which can be caused by over-reliance on AI. So I think that's something that can be considered as well, where you have both parties involved.
Yeah, but I think I mean, I'll just kind of leave this thought as it, because one of the things that comes with AI is to say how much, because now AI is fairly democratized. So question is, how much of it are we as an organization going to use for ourselves? How much of it are we going to provide for our learners? And today the learners have the ability to go out and seek a lot of these things themselves. So at some point, where are we going to be? Because what is available as a consumer grade product seems to be much more wow and much more flexible than what is available at an enterprise grade. Because the customer tech is moved much forward than the enterprise part of it, where we can kind of offer something. So how does that go? I think we'll have a separate discussion on that. That's like one. But Manavi, how do you see AI kind of helping personalized, learning journeys and career progressions? Because you have like people at different levels, different expectations, both from the organization as well as from the individual. So do you see AI helping in this whole career journey?
Yeah. So thank you so much for this question. So as you know, I work with Samsung Research, and continuous learning is one of the core values in Samsung. So this is something that so we have been working with AI learning platforms for the last 2-3 years, And one of the things that, one of the things that we are, as we move ahead, is the plan is that, it should get integrated to our internal, talent management platforms. Okay, so that is there. So what I see that, AI is no longer a futuristic concept. And one of the things that I see happening in the future is that, because as it is, there has been a lot of discussion of how we are moving from a competency-based, development approach to a very skill-based approach. So we are, in Samsung specifically, we are working a lot on AI, ML, data science skills. So what we typically do and what is the plan ahead is that, people should take assessments, people should have their personalized learning pathways, people should have all of this thing tied to their individual skills, their preferences, as well as the job or the market needs. So that is the plan when we work when we have it full-fledged. We are still at the initial stage. But the plan is that, what I see happening in the coming years when we are full-fledged into AI is that we will have all this very, very super personalized for employees, and we will also have, all this is also going to give a lot of push to continuous learning and skill enhancement. Because people, when you own your career journey, when you own your learning journey, which is so hyper-personalized, there is going to be a lot of focus on ownership. So I see all this happening, and all this is going to make the learner very, very important and the center of learning. And one thing which Iqbal was mentioning about losing the creativity. So I'm slightly digressing, but one of the things that one of the papers I had read some time back was the future of learning is instructorless. Okay, so we all who have done instructional design, coaching and training, the learning is going to go into a very different space. When you have very hyper-personalized learning paths, instructorless learning is definitely, I won't say that it's going to completely go, but it is going to become one of the, the challenges. So this is the thing. So what I see is that a lot of learning initiatives linked to career development, career growth, learning preferences, and very skill-based.
Sure. Yeah. So I think, thanks a lot, Anvi, that helps. So what I'm going to do is to quickly, share my thoughts, because I kind of, got a lot of inputs from this discussion. Thanks to all of you. And I think I have more questions that I'm going to take back to our team to figure out how to address some of these concerns that people have. So I think, like we discussed, I understand what AI has done for all of us is to open up a lot of boundaries, but I think that's also led us to have a lot more questions, because now the possibilities, I understand, have become like virtually limitless, but that also begs the question of where will focus go, where will money go, because you can't pursue all opportunities. And how do we really look at this whole change management, both in terms of making people adapt and adopt AI. At the same time, how do we kind of showcase the benefits to that part, either in terms of people who are driving these initiatives or the end users. And I think that's a lot of thought that I'm taking back. So thanks a lot, panelists, for your time. Really appreciate this. But before we conclude this, like I promised, we will have a Q&A session, but I think I failed in my responsibilities. I don't have 10 minutes anymore. I have like 5 minutes. So I'm going to, leave the floor to the audience. So do any of you have, specific questions that you have for any of the panelists here? I'm going to, throw the floor open. Yes, sir.
So this tool, this AI tool is a in-house built tool that was developed by No Broker, and now we are making it available as a software as a service to outside as well. So that's the in-house built tool, because we realized that we did not have complete control over how our employees were interacting with the customers. So to address that problem, so we are a prop tech unicorn, right? So when we say prop tech, we are more into technology as well as property. So we have a large IT team which took this up as a constraint and developed a tool in-house that's what we implemented to monitor the interactions that we had with our customers.
See, in our case, we work with very niche skills, and so hyper personalization is helping because we have very clear cut needs, and it is in the sense that when we keep our yearly targets, we have kept that we need 200 or 300 people who are AI ML experts, and they will be focusing on nothing but just the scores, the assessment scores, and the learning pathways that is given to them. So hyper-personalization in this case is actually very, very targeted, and it is actually going to help us meet our goals. But when it is slightly diffused and open, then probably when learning needs are kind of more broad-based, more learning, then hyper-personalization sometimes could be a deterrent. But I feel that when you have very targeted learning needs, then it actually helps. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Over to you then.
Over to you.
No, it's fair. So I think we've got the message. I think we've run out of time. So I think the panelists are going to be available offline. So any other questions, any other interactions that any of us want to have, please feel free to cast them before they leave. And thanks a lot, everybody. And thanks a lot, audience, for your patience and time. I appreciate this.
Thanks a lot to all the panel members for sharing your thoughts. Now I request Mr. Arun Subramanian from Growiz.ai to come forward and felicitate all the fellow panelists. Starting with Ms. Roopashri from Broadridge. Dr. Anuradha from Ensono. Mr. Iqbal Singh, Cafe Coffee Day. Dr. Manavi Pathak, Samsung R&D Institute, India. Mr. Ritesh Rangle from nobroker.com. And Mr. Ramakrishna Rao from Page Industries. Also requesting everyone to please take the center of the stage for a group photograph.